Hey guys, welcome back to Clockwork and Noodles for another breakdown of Ancient Magus Bride, Season 2, Episode number 2. Welcome back guys, thank you for tuning in once again as we continue our journey into school, well, magic school. I'm really liking the tonal shift, school feels regimented to me. A season that already seems quicker paced. But hello and welcome to the channel, and if you are finding me for the first time, do make sure you give the subscribe button a little bit of a like if this is a show that you are interested in. I am planning to break down all of the episodes on the channel, generally stopping at things I find interesting, things that I notice. With this show in particular, I'm able to do more symbology, lighting, directional stuff, which is the stuff that I prefer doing. I don't get to do it with every anime. Most animes don't really go this deep. This is an anime that does. Thank you guys once again for tuning in if you are returning. I love this show. Let's get straight to it. Immediately, I picked up on Elias's teacher design right at the start because I was like, this person seems very sus. Who could it be? Interesting because I did have to think back that Elias has used human forms before, mainly the male form in the first season that I can remember vaguely, and I remember vaguely saying that he looked very hot. I think it might have came across that Elias's male human form is hot. The female form is absolutely gorgeous and stunning. The reasons why I like this show because of the design. I like this design. It's mysterious. The eye colour is just magical. The colour of magic is supposed to be purple if you're a Terry Pratchett fan. He looks the part. I'd also be curious to why he picked the female form over the male form. I am sure at some point somebody can ask that question to Elias and hopefully he gives us an answer. He is one hell of a mysterious character. Even to this point, I don't really know much about him as a character because he keeps to himself. He's not a character who's very forthcoming with the information. I can't wait till we start digging a little deeper with him in general because he is awesome. But what I did like was that in most of the scenes in this show in particular, you always see some nod to nature, and I do love the garden that we're in with Chisei. It's a really pretty garden, so it's nice to see that they are surrounded by nature, and nature is very important when it comes to things like magic. A lot of English folklore centres around more the rural aspects of the UK. If you are travelling around in the UK and you ever want to see folklore type stuff, you're not going to find it in London. There are some which floats around London, but if you start going further afield, you are going to pick up on more local stories of fairies or black dogs like black shucks floating around. A lot of the nods to nature I really enjoy because I think it's just ideal. It's perfect. Chisei hitting her mum mode when she goes into talking about medication is really, really nice because that is just the person that Chisei is. She's caring. She cares about people. She might be a bag of nerves and anxiety, but when she does get talking and she's in her element, Chisei is a really nice character, and I really would love to be more like Chisei, to be fair. I am quite nervous myself. I probably would just help them and then maybe not go into exposition mode, but I do wish to learn a bit from Chisei. She's one of those characters that you find in animes occasionally that you just wish you were more like. Chisei is one of those characters that I do admire. She is obviously a contender for best girl when it comes to the end of season awards that I give out. And if you are new to the channel, I do a midway review where I'll tell you how I'm feeling halfway through a season, and then I'll do the end of season where I'll give you my top 3 of a whole season and give some fun awards out. Chisei could be eyeing up the best girl spot. She's unable to still ask for any payment back, giving a bit of a cop-out. At some point, I want some feedback. It's very vague. She has to say something, but at the same time, she just doesn't want to ask for anything. You know that Chisei doesn't really care for anything in return. She doesn't want anything in return. That's just not how she rolls. But I love the fact that she still takes Elias's advice on board and still does it. It's been a while since we have seen Alice, and the haircut really suits Alice. I really like it. But the whole meeting allows us to see how far our girl has come. She's not as apologetic anymore. She's actually quite open. She does open up quite quickly. I got lost. I can't find this. I need help. I like it. And I love the fact that Alice even tries to show her to the class, which is really cool. Even better, she comes back. Commented last episode on how the music is cut to show anxiety. It's cut to show when there's nerves. Same thing happens. Chisei looks at the door. Once again, it's a closed door and she freezes up. The music stops and she's just stood there for a bit and she starts to think back to bad times, which is when Alice slaps her back into reality. Not quite literally. She does give her a tap on the back, but I love it because it's a knock back into reality. There's a lot of connotation when it comes to closed doors, open doors, even in English mythology and vampires. If you're thinking vampires, here's one for you. Vampires have to be invited in. The use of doors in this show and the fact that a closed door is what makes Chisei quite nervous, and can relate to that because a lot of times you don't know what's behind a closed door, especially when it comes to a meet the class for the first time. We don't know what's going to happen. I didn't know what we were going to expect. Of course, I completely completely forgot this is the UK. We're not going into a Japanese classroom, which I'm so used to with anime. POV, absolutely love it because we get to see where Chisei looks first. Immediately, I'm looking at the floor, then I'm looking at the ceiling. Very last, I am just getting a glimpse of the students. Picked out immediately that I think her name is Philomira. She sat in the back row. You'll see Veronica sat just in front of her. Got some vibes between those two. I think her name is Philomela. There's a lot of names to take in, and they're not easy names. For a native Asian speaker, I think this one will be difficult for you. I think this is an anime which isn't going to be the easiest because even these names, to me, they are difficult. There's some interesting ones, especially, say, the tutor, who is Narcissus. Going into Latin, which is perfect for him. Narcissist root of, like, loving oneself and stuff. That is the clever point. I actually thought that was really low-key clever that I don't think too many people may pick up on if you're not English speaking. His name, Narcissus. And then he says, you can call me Narcissus because it's the same root. That's where you get the root of the word from. A lot of the English language derives back from key roots with Latin, which is why I thought this was a very nice little low-key nod. Love the intro he gives us. It's an intro into sorcery. Yes, you can see people yawning. People are talking to each other still because no doubt they have heard this introduction before. We are told that this is them returning. Obviously, Chisei's coming as a guest. So these guys have been there before. Most of this class is probably used to each other. But to Chisei, it's the first time she's hearing it. It's the first time we, the audience, are hearing it. I love the fact that we center on Chisei as our focal point because she's new to it. We're new to it. We are being introduced to this world and environment via her. I really do love the fact as well, he does a bit of a rug pull with his introductions. I love the energy that he's vibing out. He's got a nice stance that you must explore folklore, explore yourself, experience failure, which is very important. A lot of people underestimate what you can learn from failing. Failing can teach you a lot. Have fun. I want you to be curious. I love this standpoint. I really do get behind this guy. To the rug pull. Hi, we're learning about Latin today, and you just see everyone's faces just dropping. I've always joked that I would love to learn Latin, but I then realised that actually I really wouldn't like to learn Latin. Latin is a dead language. It is used every so often in the English language. I work in a pet store. Even with plant names and animal names, there's Latin floating around. Even if it is a dead language, without even knowing, most English speakers are probably hitting a few Latin words on a daily without even realising. It's one of those languages that maybe one time I might delve into it, but it's really difficult. Despite the fact that I have actually learned 2 languages, I studied a little bit briefly for Japanese, but then gave up because I realised I wasn't using it. My problem with learning languages is if I'm not using it, I forget it. So there's no real motivation for me to keep it. Really do like this introduction for him. He's actually a really good intro, and in general, just very clever, low-key stuff going on that I really like. And again, I really like the lighting and the room. You can sense a bit of a rift between Veronica and Philomela is the name I'm going to go for now because it looks like an L I've written. It could be an L. She hasn't technically introduced herself yet, so we'll wait for that. She was scared to admit she'd been talking to somebody, to Veronica, and I do get a sense of power rift here that maybe Veronica is stronger personality to her. They're sitting apart. They're not sitting together, so I can deduce that they're not best friends or anything. Veronica only really shows interest in Chisei as soon as she knows you know how to do magic. You're a maid, which of course everyone's here to learn that. Makes sense that they're suddenly interested in a person who can do the thing that they want. I'm introducing me to you now because I can gain something from you, and I generally don't like that. She could be a different character entirely. We will find out. It's just first opinions. That's probably my first opinion on those two in general. Poor Chisei needing to get those higher grades because you are visiting. Hopefully she's able to get the back stuff. I love the fact that she's not expected to learn or practice sorcery because, well, she can already do that. She has to learn the backstory. She's got to learn the technique, all the methods, all the stuff that goes with it. You're not learning music, you're learning music theory. Elias! Because I didn't realise it was him at the start. I was sus of that character. Then I went, oh, it's Elias. Of course, he's having to adopt a disguise. Very shocked that he adopted this disguise when we have seen another disguise used before. Would like to know whose image he is mimicking because this is the second human I think we've seen. I would love to know who he's mimicking. I personally think this design looks like Chisei. Not quite. Mainly the face looks a little Chisei-ish. I think it could just because the artist does this a lot with their characters. A lot of the characters kind of look quite similar. I do hope at some point somebody does ask him that question. As an audience learning the difference between mages and sorcerers. To us, this feels like it's coming a little bit late. We are in the second season. We're only now learning about this. At the same time, it makes sense because up until this point, we've experienced the world via Chisei. Chisei's only learned within the cottage. She's only learned from Elias. And we've not actually explored the world beyond cottage, beyond the little town that we've grown up in. I love the fact that we're starting to broaden those horizons. Elias the senpai, as much as it seems to shock everybody, I got the vibe quite early on that he'd make a good teacher. I don't know why. He feels wise. He feels professory. He does technically try to teach Chisei at many times. I like seeing him in this professor role. Elias preaches teaching respect and cooperation. To human, to non, you have to show respect. If they don't want to cooperate with you, you stop. You don't push it. I love this. Kind of low-key picked on Chisei. He wanted Chisei and Alice to be there for a reason. It's funny, but you also know that he's doing it because he knows that they can do magic, so he's using them as an example. But it did low-key feel like he just picked on her. I really like that dynamic though. There's this nice kind of comfort to seeing somebody that you know in the class. She's been nervous up until this point. It's nice to see Alice dragged into the class and having, of course, a teacher that you know. Alice the fire starter, showing us that it's all about emotions as well, that your emotions can really affect these things. You channeled your anger, therefore I channeled it for you. I love this because it also ties back into the opening speech from Narcissist. I'm going to call him that now. You have to get in tune with your body. You have to learn how your organs work. How does this work? A lot of that comes down to as well, keeping yourself in check, understanding how you feel, because magic is in tune with your feelings, which I really, really like. That makes sense. And I love the fact that we're tying it down to something a bit more tangible than magic is just up in the air. No. Magic is something that you can ask permission for, how you as a person will affect the spell. I love this. If they say no, you stop. You don't do anymore. I think his name is Rion. He gets completely turned down, dejected by the fairy. He's really nice. He calls her beautiful. And then she's like, nah. You're so funny. Bye, loser. So bad. It's like, oh my God. Imagine just like having to live in this world where you're probably going to get rejected by most of your classmates and then getting rejected by the non-humans as well. That must be quite painful. But it's really nice. It's a good attempt. I actually appreciate this attempt. Then we see it go wrong. We see what happens when you anger the spirits and they just will not hold back. This is that moment where Elias brings the thunder. He protects the student. He doesn't sugarcoat it. And I love the fact that he's not sugarcoating. It's like, this is dangerous. You may as well just drop out right now. It all kind of goes wrong in his first class and he shows his true form to everybody and you're, what was the point of you having a disguise? We all knew that was coming off quite quick. I kind of liken Elias a little bit to Hagrid from the Harry Potter stories just because there's no safety precautions. He's got the heart in the right place, but you're probably teaching in a non-health and safety manner that Ofsted would probably really, really hate. A lot of trouble has come on day one. As soon as Elias cuts the class and claps, the music stops again. There's a lot of very clever little notions where the music rolls, the music stops. Elias has the power to stop the music. Done. That's it. Rion at the end stating that he wants to learn magic. Well, a lot of people probably do. Interested to see that he has approached her, which is nice. He's actually come straight forward. He's also the one who got rejected. So I really hope that we get to see how that goes. He seems chill. She said she doesn't feel threatened by him and she actually picks up good vibes, which again is all down to vibes and what you give out to the world around you. If you look unapproachable, you're going to be unapproachable to the fairies as well. All of the lessons that we learned today are put into practice and it makes sense. It is a little bit like Hogwarts right at the end when we see a door with all of those locks. You're like, oh, here we go. There's probably a dangerous three-headed dog down there, which is probably going to rip students to bits. This gives me that vibe that there's something going on at this place that obviously is going to be our underground plot going on. Whether it's dangerous or not, most likely. Absolutely love today's episode. Really enjoyed it. Loving the second series. We're off to a great start. A little bit sad to see that not many people are watching it. Also realised that season 1 came out 6 years ago. I did state that it felt like forever since I'd seen it. Maybe it's the case that 6 years really does feel like forever when you haven't got an anime there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying my breakdowns. I hope you're gaining a little bit, and obviously I'm trying to sprinkle in a little bit of English mythology in there, and from an English point of view, a breakdown from an English perspective when the anime is based in England. And this is exactly what I did with Moriarty the Patriot. So if you want to see another anime where I broke it down, which was set in the UK from an English perspective, go and check that out. It should be in a playlist somewhere. I create playlists of all the animes I've ever done. You may find another anime show that I've done before that you're interested in. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Make sure you're in tune with you. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.